Right, so we'd like to continue, but I think it's the last topic, right? It's the last topic under this section.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on stages of research design, including deciding on research strategy, formulating research questions and hypotheses, sampling frames, sampling techniques, pilot studies, operationalization, conducting research, and interpreting results. So I think that's the last part. So as of today, we are simply going to stick on research design. That's our starting point. When you want to research, how do you design the research? How do you plan the research, right? So the topics which are enshrined in this area include stages of research design. For you to research something, you must have the design of the research plan, including deciding on research strategy, formulating research questions and hypotheses, sampling frames, sampling techniques, pilot studies, operationalization, conducting research and interpreting results. So we'll start with the research design. So this section looks more generally at the design of sociological research, and according to Obeg in 1999, he suggests that there are 4 linked stages of research design. So let's say you want to go into a certain area and you want to research about a certain aspect or a certain topic. You must follow 4 stages. The first stage is on what? Planning. Right. The first stage is on planning. And what does it entail? It is whereby the researcher decides on the strategy, such as what to research and how to research it, and also plans research hypotheses or questions. That's what planning is all about. You have to plan about the research topic. Then, number 2, there is information gathering, right? There is information what? Gathering. What does it mean? It means you have to identify a sample study. You also have to conduct sort of an initial pilot study. When you talk of a pilot study, is whereby before you embark on the main research, right? Before you embark on the main activity, you conduct what we call a pilot study. It's sort of a testing study, you know. Yes. It's sort of a training or sort of a warm-up or a rehearsal type of a study. And applying research methods to collect data, right? Then thirdly, the information is processed. So information processing. So information, info processing, right? When we talk of info processing, it relates to the idea that once data has been gathered, its meaning must be analyzed and interpreted. Whenever you get the data, you have to understand what it means and how it can be interpreted. Then lastly, you have to evaluate. To evaluate is to sort of analyze everything at the end of the day. Right? It involves both an internal analysis that asks questions about how the research was conducted, whether the research method was appropriate, for example, and an external analysis by which conclusions are reported to a wider public audience for their analysis and also their criticism. Right. So secondly, we have the research problem. Secondly, we have the research problem. Right. This is the initial stage when the sociologist decides things such as the general topic to study and then develops more specific ideas about what aspects to study, and that's the research problem. What do they want to research about? So there should be a problem, you know. Because in sociology, we deal with sociological problems. For example, what are the sociological problems that we can talk of? Poverty, what else?
Suicide.
Suicide, yes, what else?
Murder.
Prostitution. What else?
Drug abuse.
Drug abuse, yes. Those are the problems that will be bedeviling the society. So it is the duty or the onus of the researcher to look into the research problem. They must come up with a topic, right? And the topic might be motivated by the personal interest of the researcher. Yes. A certain researcher, a certain educated sociologist might feel like they want to research about unemployment in a certain area. So what compelled them to come to delve deep into that is that issue. So they might look into a current interest in the topic among sociologists or society in general. Like you mentioned, the drug issue, the drug problem. That's an example of a hot potato in the society. It's a hot issue which is even attracting the views of politicians, the views of musicians, the views of educationists, the views of the police. You know, so it means it's a common topic that is like hot, it's a hot potato, it's a contemporary topic that will be hot. Then practical factors are whether money or funding can be obtained. Because whenever you are researching, let's say you are mainly based in Harare and you want to do your research in Gweru, you need the funding, right? Yes, transport, the food, the accommodation, and practical factors such as whether it will be possible to conduct the respondents easily, right? You want to go there and you want to research about the issue of drugs, like you mentioned, right? You have to see if it is practically doable to ask the people. You know, you might be told by some people that a person, Brian is the one who sells drugs in this area, you know, something like that. You have to know how to approach, you know, what we're doing all along. So at this stage, the researcher will review previous researches in the area under consideration. You know, a review like this may generate ideas about what to study, whether to replicate previous research, and how to avoid errors made in previous research. So after that, we come up with a research hypothesis or question. A research hypothesis or question. So this sets the basic theme for a study, right? If a hypothesis is used, for example, Jean and Abba in 2002, analysis of how motherhood affects the lives of graduate women was based on the hypothesis. So a hypothesis is sort of a statement about something. I would rather say, let's say unemployment, right, is the major cause of what? Of crime committance, right? Of committing crime, right? That's an hypothesis. So I have to support it. In my discourse, in my research, I have to prove why I'm saying why people are robbing others. It is because of unemployment or because there's nothing to do at the end of the day, so you have to look into that. Like here, they said the effect of motherhood on full-time employment is minimum for graduate women. So that's an hypothesis, a statement of something. It's a loaded statement. So it must be tested, and this means using research methods suitable for this purpose. So hypotheses are associated more with methods that produce quantitative data. So if a research question, for example, if a research question is used, Conway's 1997 examination of parental choice in secondary education was based on the question, does parental choice help to strengthen the advantage of the middle classes over the working class? So the research method used must be capable of generating high levels of descriptive data, right? So research questions are associated more with methods that produce what? Qualitative data. Because when we talk of qualitative data, this is unquantifiable data, which means you'll be dealing with what? Descriptions. You'll be dealing with the descriptions. Yes. So after that, there is collecting data. After that stage, there is collecting data. So before data can be collected, the researcher needs to identify the people or respondents who will be the subject of the what? Of the research. What am I saying? If you want to research about unemployment, your respondents should be people who are what? Unemployed. If you want to research about drug abuse or peddling of drugs in a society, you have to look into the drug lords and the people who consume the drugs, right? Yes. Then thirdly, if you want to research about orphans, you have to, the orphans, the actual orphans should be your respondents. So although it would be ideal to select and study everyone in a particular group, which is the target group, right? this is not always possible. Let's say you hear that this place is well known of like drug abuse. Like if you go to Mbari in some areas of in Epworth and stuff, there are many people who are abusing drugs. I live there, you know. So you might hear that maybe 2,000 people are abusing drugs. You cannot ask 2,000 people. You need sort of a symbol. You can ask 5 or 10. For example, if the target population was doctors in India, the size and demographic distribution of such a population would make it impossible to observe or question everyone personally. Because in India, there are so many doctors. India is well known for its richness in terms of human health. That's why you find out that most of the operations which are failed, let's say in Zimbabwe and South Africa, they even advise you to be flown to India. They have the best health facilities in the world, and they have most, like in India, it's either you aspire to be a cricketer or you aspire to be a doctor. So the reason why they have the best health system, one of the best health systems in the world, is because of that competition. Yes. Because if everyone is fighting to be, there will be high competition. So when there is high competition, there will be high quality, just like the England Premier League or the La Liga. The reason why we pay our DSTV to watch those guys playing, it is because of the high competition. So everyone plays at the highest level. So at the end of the day, you get what? A quality product, quality production, quality health system, you know. So instead of like inquiring or interviewing many doctors, you just have to inquire about 5 or 10 of them. This is where sampling enters the what? Sampling, that is where sampling enters into the mix, right? So a sample is a relatively small number of people who belong to the largest population. In this example above, the researcher might choose 1,000 doctors in India, and by studying their behavior, they can draw certain conclusions about all doctors in what? In India. Yes, let's say you hear that there are people who are abusing drugs in this area. You don't need to question 100 people. But if you do question well 10 of them, you might have an insight into the world of drug abuse in detail. I'm getting you out of what I'm saying? Yes. I've seen some people, there's Chibanda Media, who, like, his duty is to inquire, like, those lesbians and gays. He also inquires about women who are in prostitution. He goes to Booster and asks about them, how they operate and stuff. So from one interview, you can learn the whole world of what? Yes, there's a certain lady who was telling me that a certain man can come and just sleep with you. Then they tell you that I will not give you any cent. They can do that. They can even beat you after that. Yes. So this might appear like an isolated case, right? But as a sociologist, you might get an insight, a bigger picture of the world of prostitution from that person. So they might ask you prices. Again, how much is short time to detail? It's $5, a night is $15. So you don't need to ask 50 sex workers on that. Just 1 or 2, you get a greater picture. Because when people are in a certain area or operating the same wavelength, they experience sort of the same lifestyle. You know, that's yes.
If let's say it's a large population, like
Yes.
maybe
No.
it's a large population,
Yes.
right? And maybe there's like maybe 2,000, 3,000 prostitutes,
Yes.
and you ask only 10. Are 10 really enough to describe all the 3,000?
Yes. Although we say that, that's why you find out that for each and every topic that we are doing, there are also strengths and what? And weaknesses. Yes, that's another weakness. That sometimes you might not get the real picture. But some people experience some personal things. What am I saying? If you go to any poverty-ridden area, if you visit any poverty-ridden area, you find out that now we are doing my levels. I know them. Actually, when you are doing Zimsek, there's a topic called poverty. They say that there are 2 types of poverty. There's what we call absolute poverty, then there's what we call relative poverty. SMA poverty, but there is absolute poverty, then relative poverty. So absolute poverty, is really basic. Really basic. Hapana vyokugara, hapana mvura, hapana chikafu, hapana chekupfeka. Then relative poverty ndoyekuti ndoyedu isusu yekuti pese pekugara tinapo pekupfeka tinazvo ndogona kuudza kuti handina mari yeDSTV, ndonzwa kuda mari yekutenga ice cream yeDial delivery. That's what we call relative poverty. Handogona mezazvo. So sometimes nuances, those are the nuances that we have to look into, because like I said, there are some general things which affect prostitutes, which affect sex workers, but sometimes prostitutes at an individual level face some personal problems. So that's where you find out that that's another weakness of that, Yes, of using like random sampling, of just sampling with 3 or 5 people. Yes, they might not give you the 100% information, but basically they try to, they give you 70 or 80%. Right. So, so for example, if 60% of doctors are male, then 60% of the sample should be also. So if the sample is representative, anything discovered can be generalized to the target population. And the researcher can make statements about the larger group they have not studied, the target population, based on the behavior of the smaller group they have studied, they have sampled. That's the thing. So if there are many sex workers, you can ask 5 of them or 10 of them. You can at least get a picture, yes, of the world of that. So let us look at sampling frame. Let us look at sampling frame. Let us look at sampling frame. Constructing a representative sample often requires a sampling frame. So this is a list of everyone in a target population, such as voting or school register, and it is used for 2 main reasons. Number 1, unless everyone in the target population can be identified, the sample drawn may not accurately reflect the characteristics of the population. Then number 2, for a researcher to contact people in their sample, to interview them, for example, they must know who they are. Yes, you must know who they are. However, simply framing exists does not mean that a researcher will automatically have access to it. Like a researcher cannot get his access to something simply because it is there. They may be denied for reasons of number 1, legality. Names cannot be reviewed by law. You know that. Yes. Let's say, for example, the police have a list of wanted people. And let's say you are a crime journalist. You want to learn about the people who are wanted on a list. The police might not give you that list. Why? Because they might think that you are also part of those people they are wanting. Yes, that's legality. It's part of the law. You might be sort of infringing in their work, like so confidentiality too. A business may deny access to its payment record. Yes, a business, simple business. You might go to. There are some company secrets. What am I saying? Sometimes there will just be 2 operators operating on a daily basis. They might not know how much the company is getting. Then you come in as a researcher, you visit the manager, and you ask them about. They don't even know if you share the information to what? To the workers. And the workers might say, no, we are getting you 10,000. We are getting 100,000 per month. Could you please raise our salary? So there are some confidentialities which are related to the companies. So privacy. Some groups do not want to be what? To be studied upon. So there are a number of sampling techniques for choosing the example, panning on the random sampling. Chloe, what do you understand by random sampling?
I think it means maybe just collecting or like asking different people without a specific system.
You can hear that we want to research about drugs. These are the people who are dealing with drugs. You don't even know their name. You can randomly pick so that you can start from that point. So from random sampling, we have systematic sampling. Right? The word systematic is from the word system. So this is a variation on sample, random sampling that is often used when the target population is very large. It involves taking a sample directly from a sampling frame. For a 25% sample of a target population containing 100 names, every 4th name would be chosen. Systematic names, right? Yes, let's say there's a list of 100 people. You say, no, I don't want to. All right, okay, what am I saying? Let's say you want to have about 10 people as your respondents. You have 100. There's a list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 100. If it's a random sampling, you can pick number 67. You can pick number 53. You can pick number 42. You can pick number 2. That's random sampling. But when it comes to systematic sampling, you can say I'll pick after a fourth interval, right? So I'll pick number 4, then number 8, then number 12. You know, it's sort of systematic, you know. So the technique is not truly random though. For example, the 50th name on the list could never be included in the sample, so not everyone has an equal chance of being included. However, it is random enough for most samples. Then we have the stratified random. It's a random with the word what? Stratified. Right. So although simple and stratified random samples can be used in many research situations, problems can occur when a large population is made up of small groups. So such as a population with many age groups. So a biased sample can easily occur by chance with some groups overrepresented and other underrepresented. So stratified random sampling avoids these problems by stratifying the largest population into groups where characteristics are known to the researcher, such as different age groups. So each group is then treated as a separate random sample in its own right. Like what they are saying, they might come up in an area with a tribe, with the tribes, right? They might be minorities. So what am I saying? When you want to research about Zimbabweans, about the Chinese in Zimbabwe, you don't use the approach that you would use about the Shona in Zimbabwe, or the Ndebele in Zimbabwe, or the actual Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe. Because this is a big thing. But the Chinese or the Indians, they are minor. So the approach should be what? Should be different. So you use the stratified random sampling. Right. So there's also what they call the stratified quota sampling, like the stratified quota sampling. Although a sampling frame is always useful, it is not strictly necessary. It is enough just to know the characteristics of the respondents in order to construct a sample. So the selection is done on an opportunity basis. The researcher may, for example, need 20 males for the sample. They then ask men to be part of the sample, and once the 20 males have agreed, the quota allowed amount is complete and no further males can be selected. Stratified quota sample. When you talk of a quota, right? I watch cricket. There is a quota system. You know, cricket originally even here in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, it was a white-dominated sport. You find out that it was largely played and mainly played in the A schools. Yes. So the quota system entails that in the first 11 of a team that is playing, you must also include some people of color or some black players too. You might have 5 whites and maybe 6 blacks, or maybe 7 whites. Like that's what we call a quota system. There's a certain number that is on. So let's say you want to research, you come up with a certain number that you need to research on. Let's say you need 10 men or 20 men. Why did you get that number? You won't add anyone, you won't subtract anyone, that will be it. So there's non-representative, there's also non-representative sample. Like researchers generally find representative samples useful, but there are times when a non-representative sample serves the purpose. For some types of research, the sociologists might not want to make generalizations about a very large group based on a small sample. They might simply be interested in the behavior of the group itself rather than what it represents. So in Venkatesh gang study, I think we once looked into that. The fact that the gang was only representative of itself was unimportant, as he did not want to generalize from his findings and simply wanted to understand the gang in what? In depth. But on Venkatesh, like on the issue of Venkatesh, the gang leader would have sat down with the researcher and told him about the operations. But the information would be half-baked. The reason why he let in the researcher and even paid for him to be protected while he was researching, the main aim for doing that was for the researcher to get the in-depth information. So we also have opportunity sampling. That's our last part for today. So in some circumstances, it might not be possible to create a representative sample. Here the researcher may be forced to settle for opportunity sampling. It is a general type of sampling with two main subdivisions, right? So there is what they call best opportunity. There's what they call number one, best opportunity sampling. It involves deliberately choosing a sample that gives the best possible opportunity to test a hypothesis. It's the best sample. So if the hypothesis is false for this group, it will probably be false for other similar group. Yes. So like Goldthorpe and Chow in 1968, for example, wanted to test the claim that the working class in the UK was becoming hard to tell from the middle class. So the best opportunity sample considered of highly trained car assembly workers in Latin. So this group was chosen because of, if any working class group was likely to show a lifestyle similar to the middle class peers, it would be these affluent workers. Affluent workers, like they are working class, but they have like a certain type of life. They live in good houses, they live in because we have the middle class and the working class. The working class is sort of the poor, right? Yes. So when you talk of the affluent working class, we're talking of the working class. Let's say a teacher or something, but actually in peace and stuff, you know. So if you do research that in a place called, Latin, they wanted to compare with other areas to find out if it is also true. Yes. Let's say research about mapurisa utamurana sei. So zvinofanira kufanana nekuramba kunoita mapurisa because we say mapurisa. That's what I'm trying to say. So snowball samples work on the principle of rolling up more and more people to include in the sample over time like a snowball. So the researcher saw what they call snowball. When you talk of snowball samples, they work on the principle of rolling up more and more people to include in the sample over time like a snowball. The researcher would identify someone in the target population who was willing to participate in their research. This person then suggests more people who are also willing to participate, like snowball. Yes. Let's say you are researching about a person who is unemployed. They might also, after the interview, they might tell you that person A is not unemployed. Then you go there, person C is not unemployed. Then person C tells you that D is not unemployed. So you move around and you have you research, you know. So these then suggest further possible participants until the researcher is a usable sample. Although this technique is unrepresentative, it may be the only option in certain situations, yes. Sometimes you might fail to gather the people in one place. But if you do get one person in place and interview that person, they might give you the GPS or the location of another person, and when you go there, they will give you the location of another person, you know, until you get the information. So opportunity sampling, because it's an opportunity, right? An opportunity is a what? Is a chance. An opportunity is sort of a like when you're looking for something, then someone gives you, you know, then that person with whom you are given gives you another person. So it's opportunity. So opportunity sampling can be a useful technique when no sampling frame is available and the researcher knows little or nothing about the characteristics of their target population. Sometimes they might know the characteristics of their target population. They need the help of the respondents or the people they are interviewing to give them more information. Yes. Sometimes the person who might ask might not have some certain information about something. So they might say to you, is guys, something like that. So that's it for today. We'll resume on Wednesday, giving you a chance to read. So we are going into pilot studies next week.